We are in a world of international crises. Right now, the global system looks like it's falling apart at the seams on a lot of levels, specifically economic, political, and military levels. In my past video, I just looked at everything that's gone on with Russia and Ukraine over the past week, and we sit on the brink, potentially, of a World War III scenario. But alongside all of this, the global economy is in tatters. And I think it's time to examine this from a position that really takes the gloves off. We can no longer dance around this question, are we in a recession or are we not? Clearly we are. And clearly things are on the brink of yet another economic collapse. I'm Stuart Hooper, a lecturer in political science and PhD researcher. Be sure to subscribe if you are new here to the channel, where I look at international political problems through a critical lens. I'm not concerned with supporting any political ideologies on this channel. You will never find me branding myself as a liberal or a conservative. We have to really get away from these sorts of things if you want to actually look at the real power structures in the world and examine them from a critical perspective that might actually offer some real solutions, instead of just believing that voting for the other party is somehow going to change any of this. So subscribe if that sounds like a useful position to you. Follow me on social media at the other links below. And let's take a look at some of these headlines, because they are very telling. And this first one, coming from FedEx, I think says quite a lot, because it is coming from FedEx, a global delivery company. So the CEO of FedEx gave an interview where he said, quote, "We're seeing the volume decline in every segment around the world. And so, we've just started our second quarter. The weekly numbers are not looking so good. And so we just assume at this point that the economic conditions are not really good. We are a reflection of everybody else's business, especially the high-value economy in the world." And that's absolutely correct. What is FedEx? A massive transnational shipping corporation, traded on stock markets, massive valuation, but it is, as the CEO says, a reflection of everybody else's business, because everybody else's business has to move things around the world. They use delivery companies to do that. So when the delivery companies come to us and report, hey, people are not shipping things to the extent that they were a couple of months ago, we should probably take that as a pretty serious sign that global business across multiple segments of the economy is in a terrible place right now. People are simply not buying things to the extent that they were, because global inflation is quite literally still out of control. And of course, what are we doing to try to lessen inflation? Well, raising interest rates, of course. So it makes it more expensive to borrow money. The logic being that then, well, hopefully people will not spend as much money. Demand will go down, therefore prices will go down. The head of the Federal Reserve said this past week that the housing market in the US is going to require, quote, "a difficult housing correction to fix what is going on here." And what is going on here? Well, now in 210 out of the top 400 housing markets across the United States, they are significantly overvalued, or overvalued by more than 25%. Can you imagine buying a house that's been overvalued by 25% and then the market drops out? That's not a position where you want to be. But maybe that set of problems are just limited to shipping and the housing market might have some issues. Everything else is mostly gonna be fine, right? Well, probably not, because what just happened this past Friday, the 23rd of September 2022, stocks plunge as recession fears mount. The Dow falling 2.5%, S&P 500 2.9%, and Nasdaq 3%, which collectively, as this all finished up, was around a 20% drop from the record high at the start of January this year. So we are shifting our entire global economic situation into a state of recession. Something that is probably going to look akin to what happened late 2007, then into 2008, and then dragged on for the best part of a decade. And the United Kingdom, plus the rest of Europe for that matter, also has what, right now, a massive energy crisis. Go and watch my previous video on that. Go and read my accompanying article on that to get the ins and outs. But the United Kingdom has said that, well, in this disastrous economic situation, we are going to fund a so-called price cap on energy bills, which, by the way, is still twice as much as people were paying last year. So we've capped your bills, but by the way, it's still twice as much as you were paying last year. Unbelievable. We're going to fund that with debt. So the government's going to take on debt to pay for all of this. Okay. But what is the central bank doing? Raising interest rates to combat inflation. What does a raising interest rate mean? That the government debt is going to be more expensive. The pound has fallen to a fresh 37-year low against the dollar as financial markets reacted to the biggest tax-cutting moves in 50 years. And from the Institute of Fiscal Studies, the plan seems to be to borrow large sums at increasingly expensive rates, put government debt on an unsustainable path, and hope that we get better growth. So what is this? This is an example of a political party applying its political ideology to the world, to all of our lives, without any consideration for reality. Ideologies practically never align with reality. But in a current economic recession and inflationary crisis like this, to go ahead and do something like this is beyond reckless. I think what this really demonstrates is a political party and a political class that is completely bought and paid for by transnational corporations, by transnational elites, because this does absolutely nothing for most people in the United Kingdom, but it certainly benefits those transnational elites and the wealthiest within society. And as I mentioned in my previous video on all of this stuff, on the economy, on the energy crisis, you do not need to be a socialist or to be anywhere even near being a socialist to realize that the current global economic structure is clearly broken, that something is terribly wrong. So doubling down on neoliberalism at this point in time is, again, it's beyond reckless. There is more going on here than that. This is a political class wedded to an economic class, and I think they're trying to go out with a bang. The Conservative Party in the United Kingdom, they've been in power now for 12 years. I think they have a few more years to go until a general election, 2 or 3 years until a general election comes around. They know their time is up, and they're going for it. They're going for broke with this ideological position. How do you approach the solution to this? again, as I mentioned at the start of this video, I don't think the Labour Party is really our solution to this. Who was in power at the time of the financial crisis last time around? The Labour Party. Yeah, this is almost beyond reach for us as the little guys in the world, everyone. These are issues that are truly massive, but if we can't really tackle them head on, at the very least we can do a better job at trying to understand them and trying to educate more people about what is really going on here. And at the very least, who these politicians truly serve. Because when they do things like this, and when you look at the US and you have the Biden administration, after 2 quarters of negative economic growth, the definition of a recession, coming out and just proclaiming to the world, oh no, this is definitely not a recession. Look, employment's still up. Yeah, it might be right now. Will it be by Christmas? Let's see. Let's see. Thank you for making it to the end of this video, everyone. Especially if you are new here, be sure to subscribe. I think I'm finally on a upload schedule where I can maintain a continuous drip of content here. Content that is hopefully useful, in-depth, and allows you to learn something. If that is the case, please don't only just subscribe, but share these videos everywhere you possibly can. I really want this channel to grow as a place where we can talk about real critical problems without an ideological lens. Coming at this as a liberal or a conservative or a Democrat or a Republican, that's not going to get us out of these problems, everyone. The problems are far beyond the reach of these traditional political structures. And of course, those traditional political structures, those parties, they really have helped get us into this problem in the first place. So thanks again, everyone, for watching. Remember to follow me at the other social media channels below, and I'll be back with more videos real soon.